In fact, this is the official How I Hobby position.
Yeah.
We're against COVID.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Pete, and welcome to How I Hobby.
We're two pals and hobby obsessives with over 100 hobbies between us.
And we're always on the lookout for more.
Join us as we talk about all of our hobbies
And talk to people we know about their really cool hobbies. Welcome to How I Hobby. In today's episode, we've got a great interview with Adrienne Bernstein, who has a very cozy hobby. But first, Kayla, how do you hobby?
My hobby, Pete, is kombucha.
Kombucha, as in the drink.
As in the fermented tea, exactly.
Fermented tea drink. I do like a kombucha. Fantastic. So how is this a hobby? Tell me more about this.
So a few years ago, I was having like a bit of digestive challenges, and I was reading up about the benefits of fermented food and drink. And so I went down this really fun rabbit hole of getting super into bougie sourdough, super into kefir, super into kimchi, sauerkraut. I was making my own, I was buying it. And I got really into kombucha. And it was going down this rabbit hole of kombucha, which for those that don't know, the primary ingredients, it's really three main ingredients. Okay, kombucha is number one, tea.
Tea.
Yeah. Number two, sugar.
Sugar.
And number three, the SCOBY. Which stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria yeast. So I tried making it at home. Mine was absolutely foul. And I very quickly realized that I am a far better patron than producer. And so I went down this really cool rabbit hole of finding all the best kombuchas, to be honest, across the world, because everywhere I went, I was trying different kombucha.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, my mission, so I became a self-proclaimed micro-influencer. You can find me on Instagram at kombucha_queen, KWEEN. And what I've been really passionate about is kombucha that's like OG or natural. So it doesn't have anything added to it. So I found a few brands in the UK that I became absolutely obsessed with.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I started.
What's your favorite brand?
So interestingly, my favorite brand, the kombucha movement has changed because it was really big in the US and then it came a bit later to the UK. But COVID had a really negative impact on kombucha brewers. Loads of small brewers had to close down. And what I've noticed is my favorite kombucha brand has actually rebranded themselves. And so rather than calling themselves kombucha, they call themselves sparkling tea. And so, yeah, it's been really interesting, like watching this movement and kind of the nomenclature around it. But my mission has always been to find kombucha that didn't have anything added to it. And while there weren't heaps of options that I found, or particularly heaps of options that tasted good, I was advocating for that. And I was advocating for it. So that's kombucha.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm going to press you for a name because if they like it, well, then hopefully they'll send us some free bottles of kombucha. Come on, who's the sparkling tea company? Let's have it. 3, 2, 1.
It's called Real.
Real.
Formerly known as Real Kombucha.
Fantastic. I've had that.
Have you?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Royal Flush is my favorite one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I know the very. Yeah.
Because it tastes like champagne. It's really cool. They've done a really cool job. That's me and kombucha. I was and am super passionate about it. I had a pretty hefty following around the globe. I was collaborating on a kombucha blog based out of California.
Amazing.
I had a bunch of followers. I created my own weighting score system. So I was ranking all the different kombuchas based on a multi-attribute variable. So 5 different variables I was weighing them on.
Please tell me there was a spreadsheet.
There absolutely was a spreadsheet. That's the hobby, kombucha. Kombucha,
there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Go and try some kombucha. And real kombucha, real sparkling tea. Please send us a case and we'll plug you every week. Okay, let's get on with our fantastic interview.
Great. Adrienne Bernstein is a health specialist working in international development. She's based in London, though she's originally from Toronto. She is a master chef and baker, and she can be found exploring London by foot. She also happens to be my sister. Adrienne, tell us, how do you hobby?
Well, I like to knit socks.
Cool!
Fantastic.
That's so cool.
I love it. That's so specific.
Yeah.
That's so specific.
Tell us, how did you get into this hobby?
I've been knitting since I've been about 15. And socks were kind of like the white whale. I just slowly I started kind of just doing like free form, like your odd pencil case, your hat, your like circle scarf, things you don't really need a pattern for. And socks were like always this thing. I was like, oh, there's just so many parts. How will I do it? And Kayla and I were actually in Glasgow. We went into a knitting shop, and the woman caught me admiring some sock yarn. So she gave me a pattern, and I knit a sock, and then I knit another socks, and then I've knit multiple pairs of socks.
Yeah, I have a brilliant pair of socks with that yarn that we bought in Glasgow.
This is fantastic.
Hey, can you tell the audience what is the difference between yarn for socks and yarn not for socks?
Sock yarn is thinner because you might not want like super bulky socks and they have to fit into your shoes. Also, sock yarn usually has some sort of like nylon with the wool. So it's like a really strong yarn to withstand all the friction and rubbing when you're walking around.
Fantastic stuff.
Cool.
So how is a sock more complicated than a jumper?
And the answer is it's not. I just had this idea in my head, I think because they're quite little. So it seems like there's lots of like little itty bitty bits going on. And that would be a bit hard to keep track of and figure out what to do. Also the way that like a sock isn't just one direction. It's not like a tube. It kind of curves try to make that happen. Also, the way that I know lots of people knit socks, which is what I do, and I can show my prop here, is that you knit socks with multiple needles,
Whoa.
Which can be tricky.
For our podcast listeners, for the people who can't see this, we've got this. There's 3 needles going on here in some sort of Blair Witch Project type triangle.
Yeah.
With a sock dangling therefrom.
That's so cool. And it's multicolored. It's navy and it's lime green.
And it's huge. It's a big old sock, unless you're a very small girl. I don't know.
The socks that you just showed us, who are those socks for?
This podcast isn't coming out until a few weeks or a few months' time, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great, because I can these are a surprise birthday present for my dad.
Oh, yeah, we got time because this won't be out before next week.
That's fantastic.
That's so cool. Many people get into different hobbies through courses. Some are self-taught. Some it's passed down. It's a generational thing. What was your journey into knitting?
I think I was like 12, and my Auntie Jo taught me just kind of like the basics of knitting. And that's when I knit like a little round thing. And she's like, oh, it's a pencil case. And I was like, oh, great. And then I think I was so traumatized at that point. I just wanted it to be over. But then a few years later, my Auntie Robin taught me how to knit a hat.
Cool.
And that was our winter break holiday that year.
Shout out to Auntie Jo and Auntie Robin. Yeah,
fantastic.
Shout out to the aunties teaching me how to knit. Yes. And then I just kind of like built up my knitting skill set from there. And it's really one of those things where it's like, just the more time you do it, the better you are, or like the different things that you can try. But I think a lot of it is really, there's just so much information online. And I've always said that the fiber arts community is a really generous giving community. So there's so many free patterns. There's like all these like web tutorials and like YouTube tutorials. So anytime I've like wanted to do a pattern and I notice that there's something in there that I don't want to know, I just go on YouTube and there's like several really great demonstrations on how to do that. So it's definitely something that I've learned through online.
Cool.
So
that's
many
amazing.
Definitely have these communities around.
Yeah.
That's fantastic stuff.
Wicked.
But I've got a sock related question, specifically socks. Because you knit socks specifically, and you think, well, socks. I mean, what can you do? You do big socks, little socks. That's it. Can you see yourself going into those little foot glove things, socks that have got toes in them?
Gosh, I've never thought about foot gloves, and my instinct is like, that's just too hard. But like, that's the exact attitude that I had before I knit socks. So I mean, like, the world is my oyster.
The
really.
world is
And
your oyster.
I've never, the thing is, I've tried those on and I didn't really like them.
Oh, they're horrible.
So I
They're
don't,
horrible.
but I'm like, I bet I could.
Yeah, of course you could.
Oh,
You could do anything.
Yeah.
You could do anything.
So it's interesting that you're thinking about the practical side of the socks. It's not just like the sock Everest. I knitted it because it was there.
Yeah.
You need it to be something that someone's going to wear. So do you mainly knit for people specifically?
That is a great question. And I think that feeds into your love language, Adrienne.
My thing is like I've always loved to like make things, and if I see something I like and I think I'm like maybe I can make that for myself, I really get into that. So I have a really hard time buying knitwear in a store because there's like a gremlin in the back of my mind that goes, oh, Adrienne, you could just knit that. So I really try to knit things that I would want to wear myself. I do like to knit as like for gifts. So for example, like these socks are from my dad. Kayla's, she mentioned, has a pair of socks that I knit for her. But I think part of that is I like to initiate I want to knit you something, or like I have something in mind for someone, because I think that a lot of people, they either don't know how long it actually takes to knit something, or the assumption is because I like to knit and knitting is my hobby that I would love to make something for someone. And that's not necessarily true. So it's definitely a delicate balance between like me showing like my love and appreciation and care for people by knitting them socks, but also like I definitely have to lead that
amazing
process.
You have to initiate the socks.
You have to initiate the socks. Pete wanted to know how long it takes you to knit a pair of socks.
Depends how distracted I get. So I've been knitting these pair. I started like the early May bank holiday, so early May. So it's been about 2 months.
Wow.
But I have knitted a pair in a month.
Okay. Still a long period of time. That's a long period of time. Adrienne, could you please tell us, what would you say is your most favorite thing about this hobby of knitting socks?
Ooh, I think that with all knitting, so in addition to knitting socks, it's quite meditative. It's really relaxing. It's like repetitive motion. So you just kind of get in a zone and it's very relaxing. And kind of like what I was saying before, it's so nice and satisfying that at the end of 2 months or whatever, you have a finished product that like you can wear or someone else can wear. And like knitting, like because it's like it takes so long, you keep it forever. So you just like have something that's like really special that you can have for such a long time.
And it's one of a kind as well.
Can be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's wicked.
Yeah, that's actually nice because sometimes you have like little mistakes in your socks or any kinds of knitwear, and then you think, oh, like it's not ruined. It's like that's what makes it special.
It's personality. Yeah. It's jazz knitting. You know, it's
jazz knitting.
Jazz knitting.
Yes.
That's it.
I didn't forget the words. I'm scatting. It's fine.
You're scatting.
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
Yeah.
Adrienne, you are someone, because I know you, you have a lot of hobbies, but wondering if money was no object,
oh man,
what would your hobby be?
Well, I've been saying this for like a year now. I have always, and kind of inching towards fulfilling this hobby dream of learning how to tap dance.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Super
yes.
Cool. Super cool.
Have you ever done that?
I did do tap dance as part of a dance thing when I was a kid.
Yeah?
I wasn't particularly good at it. It takes a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
But there's something in my brain that actually makes me feel quite frustrated with the coordination involved. I don't know how to I don't know how to describe it.
I know what you mean. Like, yeah, when you want your right leg to move forward and your left arm goes up. It's like, yeah.
But Adrienne, we'll come to your recital.
Yeah, no, please do.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get there. It might just be a taster session. We'll see. But yeah, I've always had this dream of learning how to tap dance. Like I love like old movies where they tap dance. It also seems like a kind of dance that I could manage, being like a not very like, graceful, flexible person. But yeah, it's quite like, it's like rhythm and motion. Yeah,
I love it.
I think 2024 is my tap year.
I love it. Okay.
And it's the same kind of sound as knitting as well.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh my gosh, never even thought about that.
Yeah. So we've got quite a big existential question. What has knitting socks taught you about life and about yourself?
I think that so many things just seem unachievable or like these immense challenges. And really, when you break it down into manageable steps of a pattern, you can actually get through it. It's just, and you just take it one row at a time.
Oh my God, all the puns, all the puns.
Fantastic.
So for a listener who perhaps isn't currently knitting socks, why should they try your hobby in 30 seconds or less?
Well, first of all, if you heard it's difficult, it's really not that difficult. So banish that thought out of your brain.
Yep.
Second of all, it is incredibly fulfilling, as we discussed. Third, you get to make something that keeps your feet really cozy in the winter. And like really, the possibilities of endless. I mean, like treat yourself, get some cashmere yarn, make some like really snuggly cashmere socks. If you have hot feet, cotton socks for the summer. Like what could be better? Yeah. Also, like I know this isn't for everyone, but I know there are some people out there who are like me and really like to wear socks with their Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
What better way to accessorize your Birkenstocks than with a pair of hand-knitted socks?
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Sold.
Other sandals are available.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adrienne, that was so fun. Thank you so much for teaching us all about your hobby of knitting socks. What I loved so much about it is I guess I had underestimated like the accessibility of a hobby like this. So this whole online community, bringing people together, the piece that you mentioned around it being meditative it seems like it's this consistent thread with all the different people, all the different guests that we've had on the podcast. Most people are seeking out hobbies that are this meditative experience. And I loved that, not only because you're so good at puns, but how the concept of like breaking something down into small pieces, right? If it seems like it's just too difficult, breaking it down in order to get it done. Like what a great thing to know about yourself and how to approach life. So with that, thank you so much. That was so fun.
Fantastic.
And really, really cool.
Yay! That was so much fun, you guys.
Woohoo! Amazing. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was our interview with Adrienne Bernstein. We had a blast. Hope you did too.
But before we go, we want to share this week's celebrity hobby. Drum roll.
Did you know Julia Roberts is also a committed knitter?
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Knits on set.
Oh my God.
Evangelizes about it, gets other people into it too.
That is so cool. I love that.
Don't know if she does socks though.
And that's a wrap.
I've been Pete.
And I've been Kayla.
Rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. It makes us much easier to find.
And follow us on Instagram at howihobby.
See you next time.
Toodles!
How I Hobby was written and produced by Kayla Lean and Pete Falconer, with music by Pete Falconer, artwork by Laura Walsh, and animation by Kayla Lean. If you'd like to be featured on the pod, find us on Instagram or email us at howihobby@gmail.com.